Deep inside the Great Pyramid, 6 explorers uncovered an amulet pulsing with a faint, unnatural light. A chill draft swept through the hidden chamber, carrying with it low whispers, in the sense that the walls themselves watched their every move. Hieroglyphs along the entrance shimmered, as if trying to warn them, but the team pressed on, eager for discovery. Their local guide, voice tense, pleaded for caution, repeating old warnings about disturbing sacred seals. His words were cut short by a sudden, piercing scream that echoed down the stone corridors, then silence. The explorers pressed forward, not realizing that disturbing that seal meant more than unleashing legend. It challenged their own legacies. As they reached the sarcophagus, the sense of unease grew, the chamber closing in around them, and the amulet's glow deepened, setting the stage for what came next.
Subscribe now and turn on notifications to never miss a story.
In the aftermath of their tense arrival at the sarcophagus, the explorers struggled to catch their breath, the silence inside the pyramid thick and expectant. The amulet, now resting in Dr. Larsen's gloved hands, seemed to pulse with a warning none of them could ignore. Their laughter from earlier felt distant, replaced by a creeping unease that settled over the group. The hieroglyphs encircling the amulet caught the light in a way that made them appear to move, their lines twisting into unfamiliar shapes. Malik, their guide, had been the first to sense the shift. He watched the group from the edge of the chamber, his eyes fixed on the carvings, spoke quietly, reminding them that the pyramid's walls were lined with protections for a reason. "There are debts here," he warned, "older than any of us." His words lingered even after he slipped away into the dark corridor, the echo of his footsteps fading until only the silence remained. That night, the team's confidence began to unravel. Gardner's headlamp flickered unexpectedly, casting long shadows that seemed to bend and reach toward their tents. Stubbs sat awake, convinced she heard faint voices in the windsoft, urgent, and speaking a language she couldn't understand. The group grew restless, each of them glancing over their shoulders, as if expecting Malik to reappear with answers. But he did not return. Instead, they found his journal abandoned near the edge of camp. Its final entry was brief. "Some mornings are not for outsiders." With Malik gone, Dr. Larsen focused on the amulet under the lantern's glow. She traced the carvings, her brow furrowed. The symbols resolved into a single, unbroken phrase. "Binds him to his crime," she read aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. The others gathered around, the weight of the translation settling over them. The warning was not a relic of superstition. It was a direct message, a curse meant to hold trespassers accountable. When the symbols spoke, they spoke of blood debts that predated even Malik's warnings. Dr. Larsen felt a cold awareness settle in, realizing her pursuit of discovery had crossed an invisible line. In the silence that followed, the amulet's glow seemed to deepen, and the walls pressed closer. Each explorer felt the weight of history closing in, as if the pyramid itself demanded recognition of what had been taken. A sense of consequence filled the chamber, heavy and unyielding. The explorers exchanged uneasy glances, each feeling the pull of unseen eyes. The air grew colder, and the silence pressed in, broken only by the shuffling of boots on ancient stone. As they prepared to investigate the sarcophagus, the tension in the room sharpened, warning lingering in the air, waiting for the next misstep. Peterson's hand slipped as he steadied himself against the sarcophagus, his palm scraping across the rough stone. Blood welled up, and for a moment the chamber's air grew sharper, biting with a sudden chill. The sound of faint, mournful whispers drifted from the walls, threading through the silence. The explorers exchanged uneasy glances, each one feeling a pressure that seemed to come from the pyramid itself, as if the structure was waiting for them to recognize something they'd overlooked. Without warning, the amulet in Dr. Larsen's pocket grew warm. She hesitated, then held it, and the room flickered. For a split second, she saw the chamber transformed, lanterns burning low. Shadows of men in European uniforms moving hurriedly among crates and relics. Their faces were drawn and anxious, hands trembling as they stuffed artifacts into sacks marked for foreign ports. One man's eyes met hers, and in that instant he clutched his throat, gasping for breath. The vision snapped away, leaving only the echo of his panic and the knowledge that these were not ancient priests, but 19th century lootersmen whose greed had set something in motion that would not rest. The others watched Larsen steady herself, her knuckles white around the amulet. She remembered stories whispered at academic gatherings, rumors about her great-uncle, as involvement in smuggling fossils out of Egypt, allegations her family had always denied. Now, the weight of that history pressed in, undeniable. The vision had singled her out, tying her directly to the cycle of exploitation that had brought them all here. A fresh gust of cold air swept through the chamber, carrying with it the unmistakable scent of dust and old linen. The whispers grew louder, almost pleading, as if the walls themselves demanded acknowledgement. Peterson shivered, rubbing his wounded hand, and noticed the blood on the stone forming unfamiliar symbols. Stubbs tried to capture the markings on her phone, but the screen flickered and died, leaving only the dim glow of their lanterns. No one spoke, but the message was clear. The pyramid was not merely haunted by ancient curses, but by the consequences of centuries of theft and denial. Every artifact, every secret passage, seemed to echo with the question of who truly owned the past. The explorers stood in silence, the cold settling deeper into their bones. As the sarcophagus loomed before them, its secrets waiting, and the sense of a long-ignored debt growing heavier with each breath. The sarcophagus lid shifted with a slow, grinding sound. Inside, the explorers found not a preserved body, but a collection of Egyptian relics, shibes, faience, amulets, and fragments of painted limestone. Each object rested atop faded inventory tags, their edges browned with age. Dr. Larsen leaned closer and read the handwritten dates and names. Carnarvon, Expedition, 1912, British Museum Consignment, 1905. A scarab, still dusted with sand, bore a tag from a 19th century dig, its string brittle and ready to snap. The sense of intrusion grew sharper. These were not trophies from distant lands, but items stolen from this very tomb, cataloged and spirited away during the height of colonial excavation. Larsen's breath caught as she recognized the handwriting on one of the labels. It matched a notebook she'd inherited from her great-uncle, a figure celebrated in her family for his archaeological achievements. She reached for the amulet, her hand trembling. The air thickened, pressing in around her. The hieroglyphs above the sarcophagus glowed faintly, their meaning now unmistakable. Return what was taken, or the curse endures. A low, persistent vibration seemed to rise from the stone itself. Larsen's thoughts raced. Every paper she'd published, every grant she'd received, had been built on discoveries that belonged to another people. She pressed her palm to the cold surface of the sarcophagus and felt a jolting image flash before her eyes. Porters carrying crates out of the pyramid at night. Overseers shouting orders, relics vanishing into the darkness. Her own family's legacy was tangled in this history, not as scholars, but as participants in a theft that had never been righted. Malik appeared at the threshold, his face drawn and exhausted. He didn't speak, but his eyes met Larsen's, and she understood. The curse was not a myth, it was a reckoning, a demand for acknowledgement and restitution. The pyramid did not punish blindly, it waited for the truth to be faced. Larsen gathered the relics, her hands steady now. She placed them back inside the sarcophagus, arranging them as carefully as she could. The hum in the air faded, replaced by a silence that felt expectant. She looked up at the others, their faces pale, waiting for her next move. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, faintly, the hieroglyphs overhead shifted, their lines softening as if releasing a long-held breath. Later, when the authorities arrived, they found the chamber undisturbed. Only Larsen remained, her notebook in her lap, sketching the amulet's design over and over. The marks on the page were unfamiliar to the staff, but something about them unsettled everyone who saw them. In the weeks that followed, workers at the Giza site quietly returned the relics found in the sarcophagus to Egyptian authorities. As each artifact was placed back in its rightful context, the oppressive chill and whispers that had haunted the corridors faded. One painter, pausing to rest his brush, noticed the silence, no more voices in the stone, no more uneasy drafts. The truth settled among the team. The curse was not a phantom, but the weight of history demanding acknowledgement. Dr. Larsen, sitting alone beside the sealed tomb, whispered, "Some tombs guard the living," before falling silent. What debts lie hidden in other sites? Share your thoughts below.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more exciting content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.